The Titanic has offered an unprecedented insight into the ship's final moments. A detailed three-dimensional reconstruction of the wreck reveals engineers worked to keep the lights on even as the vessel sank.
At 12,500 feet below the surface, the Titanic rests in frozen silence. But something just broke that silence. For the first time, an advanced underwater drone has ventured inside the legendary shipwreck, capturing footage so eerie, so intimate, it left even hardened explorers speechless. This wasn't just another dive. It was a haunting descent into history's most iconic maritime grave. What the cameras found deep in the abyss is both mesmerizing and deeply unsettling. Descent into darkness, the most terrifying footage yet. The moment the underwater drone slipped inside the Titanic wreck, it was like stepping into a completely different world.
The Titanic, well now a BBC documentary team, has been given unprecedented access to the investigation.
The cameras started by shining a steady beam through the thick darkness, slowly revealing what lay inside. What they found wasn't just a pile of rusted metal, it was the inside of a ship frozen in time, with surprising details still intact after more than 100 years underwater. As the drone moved deeper, it passed through a collapsed section of the hull and entered the interior corridors. The cold water and lack of oxygen have preserved some parts better than anyone expected. You could clearly see remnants of the ship's once luxurious rooms, old furniture, pieces of clothing, even personal items like shoes, and a child's porcelain doll still sitting quietly in the silt. One of the most striking parts of the footage is the grand staircase area. This was one of the Titanic's most famous features, a grand, sweeping staircase that first-class passengers would have used to get around. Of course, it's no longer the beautiful structure it once was. The wood has mostly rotted away, and parts have collapsed, but the shape and scale are still impressive. The drone's lights captured the outlines of the iron railings and some of the decorative details, reminding viewers just how grand the ship once was. Moving through narrow hallways coated in layers of sediment, the drone eventually reached rooms that had never been explored before. The silence inside the wreck was almost palpable through the footage, no sound except for the slight hum of the drone's equipment. In one room, the drone's cameras caught what looked like a human-shaped form under some debris. Experts aren't sure whether it's a body or just a collection of materials arranged in a way that looks like one, but the image was powerful enough to raise important questions about the mission. It's not just about what's there, but the emotional weight of disturbing such a sight. For many, the Titanic isn't just a shipwreck. It's a graveyard for over 1,500 people who lost their lives that night. The team behind the mission took great care in how they handled the footage and even debated how much to share publicly. Ultimately, they chose to release only selected images, respecting the memory of those who died. The footage from the drone offers a rare glimpse into a place almost nobody has seen before, giving historians and scientists valuable information about the ship's current condition and how it's deteriorating over time. But it also forces us to think about how we approach sites like this, balancing curiosity and respect. But how exactly did this tiny underwater drone manage to explore such a deep, dark, and dangerous place where humans simply can't go? Meet the underwater drone. If you've ever wondered how technology can take us to places no human could safely go, the underwater drone that explored the Titanic wreck is a perfect example.
Lies the wreck of the Titanic. But more than a century after the ship sank, new technology is shedding light on what happened.
It's not just a camera on a cable. It's an engineering marvel designed for one of the most extreme environments on Earth. The Titanic rests around 3,800 meters below the ocean surface in the North Atlantic. At that depth, the pressure is enormous, roughly 380 times the pressure we feel at sea level. Imagine standing at the bottom of a swimming pool the size of several football fields stacked on top of each other. The force pushing on every square inch of the drone is enough to crush ordinary materials instantly. Because of this, The drone has to be built with super strong materials. The core frame is usually made from titanium or other high-strength metals that can resist bending or breaking under pressure. The camera housing uses thick, reinforced glass or acrylic that won't shatter. Every connection, seal, and joint must be perfectly engineered to keep water out. Even the tiniest leak would mean disaster. It's pitch black down there. No sunlight penetrates 12,000 feet below the surface, so the drone has to carry its own light source. This drone is equipped with high-powered LED lights that produce a bright white light strong enough to illuminate the Titanic's corridors, staircases, and cabins. But lighting isn't as simple as just shining a flashlight around. In water, light scatters and fades quickly, especially when there's silt or particles floating around. Too much light can also stir up sediment, creating clouds that obscure the view. So, operators have to balance brightness carefully. Enough to see clearly, but not so much that it ruins the footage. One of the biggest challenges for the drone is maneuvering inside the wreck. The Titanic is a tangled, unstable mess after over a century underwater. Parts of it have collapsed, while others hang precariously. The drone has to squeeze through narrow hallways, sometimes only a few feet wide, avoiding sharp metal edges and unstable debris. Traditional underwater drones are often designed for open water exploration. Large, bulky, and not very agile. This drone is different. It's smaller, lighter, and highly maneuverable, with thrusters placed strategically to allow it to move up, down, side to side, and even hover in place precisely. Pilots control the drone remotely from a ship on the surface, using real-time video feeds and data from onboard sensors. It's like flying a drone through a dark underwater maze with no room for error. One wrong move could damage the fragile wreck or trap the drone itself. The cameras on this drone aren't your average GoPros. They capture ultra-high-definition video that lets researchers zoom in on tiny details like inscriptions on luggage tags or the texture of a wooden chair. Some drones are equipped with stereo cameras or laser scanners that create detailed 3D maps of the interior spaces. These 3D models are invaluable for scientists and historians. They allow experts to virtually walk through the Titanic on a computer, examine fragile areas without physical disturbance, and track how the wreck is deteriorating over time.
And this was all thanks to the engineers working down here in the depths of the Titanic who kept the power going.
Unlike autonomous underwater vehicles, AUVs, that operate independently, this drone is tethered to the surface ship by a long, strong cable. The tether serves two important purposes. It supplies power to the drone and transmits video and sensor data back in real time. This setup means the operators can see exactly what the drone is seeing and react instantly to what's ahead. It also allows for longer dive times since the drone doesn't rely on battery power alone. However, the tether can be a limitation in tight spaces, so pilots have to carefully manage its slack and avoid getting tangled. Controlling a drone inside the Titanic is no easy job, but technology helps make it safer and more efficient. The drone features AI-assisted navigation tools that help avoid collisions with walls and debris. Sensors detect proximity and automatically stabilize the drone if it starts drifting due to underwater currents. This AI doesn't replace the pilot, but acts like an extra pair of eyes and reflexes, especially helpful in low visibility or cluttered environments. It helps prevent accidents that could not only destroy parts of the wreck, but also potentially lose the drone in the depths. You might wonder, why not just send divers? The answer lies in the extreme environment. At 12,500 feet, human divers can't survive, even with the best gear. The pressure would instantly crush a diver's suit, and the cold temperatures and total darkness make it impossible to operate safely. While deep diving submersibles do exist, they're bulky, expensive, and risky. They also can't access the narrow spaces inside the Titanic wreck like the drone can. So, drones offer the best balance of safety, precision, and cost for exploring these depths. This underwater drone represents the cutting edge of deep-sea exploration technology. As these systems improve, we'll be able to explore more wrecks, underwater caves, and ecosystems never before seen by human eyes. For the Titanic, this means better documentation, preservation, and perhaps new discoveries that help us understand the ship's final hours. Mapping the graveyard. Thanks to the drone's unprecedented access and advanced technology, researchers have uncovered a lot more about the Titanic wreck than ever before. This isn't just about seeing the ship from the outside anymore. It's about understanding the inside in stunning detail, which is reshaping what we know about the disaster and its aftermath. One of the biggest breakthroughs from the drone footage was getting into parts of the ship that had never been explored before. The Titanic wreck isn't just one big intact ship lying flat on the ocean floor. Over the years, it's shifted, broken apart, and collapsed in places. Some sections were simply too dangerous or too tight for previous expeditions to investigate. With the drone's small size and maneuverability, researchers managed to enter rooms and corridors deep inside the wreck, spaces that were essentially frozen in time since that tragic night in 1912. These newly accessed areas gave a fresh perspective on how the ship was constructed, how it fell apart, and how it's been changing under the sea. For decades, historians have relied on original Titanic blueprints and external observations to piece together the ship's layout. But now, with high-resolution 3D maps created from the drone's footage, experts can update those blueprints with actual, current data about how the wreck looks today. This helps answer questions about how the ship broke apart during the sinking. For example, some rooms previously thought to be intact were found to be collapsed, while other sections surprisingly held up better against the underwater environment. One of the most fascinating aspects of the footage is the sheer amount of personal belongings and ship fixtures still visible. The drone captured images of old suitcases, clothing, glassware, furniture, and even kitchen equipment. Seeing these everyday items preserved so clearly adds a human dimension to the wreck. It reminds us that the Titanic wasn't just a ship, but a floating community of real people. Some objects were found in unexpected places. For example, a pile of luggage in a hallway that may have been swept away from its original storage, or a shattered wine bottle still sealed with a cork in what was likely a dining area. These finds provide clues about the chaos during the sinking and the conditions inside the wreck now. The Titanic's cold, dark environment has slowed decay in some surprising ways. While metal parts rust and crumble, organic materials like wood, fabric, and even some leather have been partially preserved. This is thanks to the cold temperatures and lack of oxygen deep underwater, which slow the growth of bacteria and other organisms that normally break down these materials. In some rooms, the drone captured images of fabrics that looked almost intact, still hanging or draped over furniture. It's like stepping into a haunted museum frozen in time. The footage also shows how the wreck is slowly deteriorating. Over the past decades, parts of the ship have collapsed further, and marine life has colonized the site. Scientists are closely monitoring these changes, using the drone's 3D mapping to track which areas are most vulnerable. Understanding how the wreck evolves helps conservationists figure out the best ways to preserve what's left and prevent further damage. It's a race against time, as the Titanic continues to corrode and shift under the ocean. Beyond the physical details, the wreck's condition tells a broader story about the disaster and its aftermath. The way certain rooms and items were scattered or preserved gives clues about the sinking's chaos, where the ship broke apart, and how the ocean has reclaimed the wreck. The Titanic is more than history on the surface. It's a dynamic underwater site with its own ongoing story, one we're only beginning to fully understand thanks to these new explorations. But wait, it's crucial to pause and consider the haunting human emotions and tough ethical questions that come with exploring this underwater time capsule. The human side of exploring the Titanic. When we think about exploring the Titanic, it's easy to get caught up in the excitement of technology, history, and discovery. But beneath all that is a much more complex and sensitive reality. The Titanic is a gravesite. Over 1,500 people lost their lives in that sinking, and many remain inside the wreck, making it a solemn place of remembrance. This fact weighs heavily on every expedition and every decision made about exploration and public disclosure. For the team behind the recent drone mission, this awareness shaped the entire operation. They didn't just see the Titanic as an object to study or a mystery to solve. They understood they were entering a sacred space. Before launching the drone inside the wreck, the team spent hours discussing ethical considerations. How much should they disturb the site? What images should be released to the public?
In the depths of the Atlantic lies the wreck of the Titanic. But more than a century after the ship sank,
how can they balance the thirst for knowledge with respect for those who perished? One of the most difficult decisions was about the footage showing what appeared to be a human-shaped form under debris in one of the rooms. The researchers debated fiercely over whether to share this with the world. On one hand, such images are historically significant and emotionally powerful. They remind us of the human cost behind the tragedy. On the other hand, showing such footage could be seen as intrusive or disrespectful, almost like exposing a tomb to public spectacle. In the end, the team opted to share only still images and carefully selected clips, accompanied by explanations emphasizing respect and remembrance. This decision highlights an ongoing debate in underwater archaeology and wreck exploration: how to handle discoveries that are also war graves or memorial sites. Another ethical challenge is the physical impact of exploration. Although drones are designed to be minimally invasive, there's always a risk. The Titanic's structure is fragile after more than a century underwater. Even a small collision or stirring up sediment can accelerate deterioration or damage fragile parts of the ship. Experts continually monitor the wreck's condition to ensure exploration doesn't unintentionally contribute to its decline. The emotional dimension also extends to the families of victims and the public. For many descendants, seeing the wreck and personal items on screen can be bittersweet. It's a reminder of loss, but also a connection to their ancestors. At the same time, some people feel uneasy or disturbed by the idea of exploring what they see as a burial site. The fine line between exploration and intrusion is constantly navigated by researchers and organizations responsible for the Titanic. Furthermore, the Titanic has become a powerful cultural symbol, embodying themes of human ambition, tragedy, and hubris. That symbolism adds another layer of responsibility to how the wreck is treated. Every expedition, every image shared, shapes the collective memory of the event and the people involved. In many ways, exploring the Titanic forces us to confront bigger questions about how we deal with sites of tragedy. How do we honor the past while advancing knowledge? How do we tell stories that educate and inspire without exploiting or sensationalizing suffering? These aren't easy questions, but the recent underwater drone mission shows it's possible to find a respectful balance. The human side of exploring the Titanic reminds us that this isn't just about rusted metal and historical artifacts. It's about people, stories, and memory. The wreck is a silent witness to lives lost and lessons learned, and those guiding its exploration carry the weight of that responsibility with every dive. How new footage is rewriting Titanic history. For over a century, the Titanic's story has been told again and again through books, films, documentaries, and museums. We think we know the ship, the sinking, and the tragedy pretty well. But this new footage, captured by the underwater drone slipping inside the wreck, is shaking up some of those long-held ideas and adding fresh layers to the story. One of the biggest surprises comes from seeing how the ship's interior looks after all these years. Historians have relied largely on survivor accounts and the ship's original blueprints. But the reality at the bottom of the ocean is often more complex. The drone footage reveals how parts of the ship collapsed or held firm in ways experts didn't expect. For example, some grand spaces thought to have been completely destroyed were found to have remnants still standing, while other smaller rooms had crumbled entirely. This changes how we understand the physical breakup of the Titanic during the sinking. The footage suggests that the ship's structural failure was not as straightforward as once believed. Certain areas of the hull appear to have withstood pressure longer, affecting how the ship broke apart as it went down. These insights could lead to revisions in engineering analyses of the disaster, offering a clearer picture of the forces involved.
We can now see if eyewitness accounts of the bravery of the engineers who died in the disaster tally with the scan.
Another revelation comes from the objects left behind. Seeing personal belongings and everyday items in their original places, or where they ended up after the chaos, provides clues about how passengers and crew moved, what they carried with them, and even which areas flooded first. For instance, the discovery of luggage in hallways suggests frantic attempts to save valuables or a sudden rush as people evacuated. The footage also sheds light on lesser-known areas of the ship, like crew quarters and storage rooms, which rarely get much attention in popular narratives. Exploring these spaces helps historians understand the lives of ordinary workers on board, not just the wealthy first-class passengers. It adds nuance to the Titanic story, reminding us that this was a community of thousands with different experiences and struggles. Moreover, the gradual deterioration shown in the footage underscores how fragile the wreck has become, fueling debates about preservation. Some experts argue that because the ship is breaking down naturally, there's urgency in documenting every detail before it's lost forever. Others caution against aggressive exploration that might speed up decay. These discussions are reshaping policies about how and when future expeditions should take place. Perhaps most importantly, the new images and videos have reignited public interest and curiosity about the Titanic. They've inspired fresh conversations about the human stories behind the disaster and the lessons it teaches about safety, class divides, and human resilience. Each new discovery makes the Titanic feel less like a distant historical event and more like a vivid, tangible reality. This drone footage is more than just cool visuals. It's a powerful tool for rewriting history with greater accuracy and empathy. It's helping experts peel back layers of time and myth, revealing the Titanic in ways no one has seen before. And with each new expedition, the story continues to evolve, reminding us that history is never truly finished. It's always waiting for the next discovery to change the narrative. What lies ahead? The recent drone expedition inside the Titanic has opened new doors, but it also raises exciting questions about what comes next. With technology advancing rapidly and our understanding of the wreck growing deeper, the future of Titanic exploration promises to be even more fascinating and challenging. One obvious direction is more detailed mapping and monitoring.
You can see all the major pieces, and then you zoom in, and you can zoom all the way down to the smallest detail.
The wreck is fragile and constantly changing, so experts want to keep a close eye on its condition. Future drones might be even smaller, smarter, and more durable, able to explore tighter spaces with less risk of damage. Advances in imaging, like higher-resolution cameras, sonar, and even virtual reality, will let scientists and the public experience the Titanic in ways never before possible. Alongside the tech, conservation will be a major focus. The question of how to preserve what remains, or at least slow its deterioration, is urgent. New research may develop materials or methods to protect metal from rust or shield fragile artifacts from decay. Some propose underwater museums or protective domes that could stabilize parts of the wreck without disturbing its natural state. We may also see more collaborative international efforts. The Titanic lies in international waters, and many countries and organizations have a stake in its preservation. Future exploration will likely involve partnerships between governments, scientists, historians, descendants of those lost, balancing curiosity with respect. Ethics will continue to be front and center. The line between exploration and exploitation is thin, especially as public interest grows and commercial opportunities emerge. Who owns the Titanic? Who decides what's appropriate to explore or recover? These questions don't have easy answers, but they will shape every dive and every discovery. Finally, the story of the Titanic is far from over. As technology uncovers new secrets, and as we reflect on the human side of the tragedy, the wreck remains a powerful symbol of human ambition, tragedy, and the resilience of memory. Future explorers won't just be uncovering artifacts, they'll be helping us connect with history on a deeply personal level. So, while this latest drone mission gave us a glimpse inside the Titanic like never before, it's really just the beginning. There's still so much left to discover, learn, and understand. And with each new expedition, the Titanic's story will continue to unfold beneath the waves. To truly grasp the impact of the drone's footage, let's take a quick look back at the Titanic's story. From unsinkable to underwater graveyard. The Titanic's story is one that has captured imaginations for over a century. A grand, tragic tale of ambition, innovation, human error, and loss. When the Titanic set sail on April 10, 1912, it was the largest and most luxurious ship of its time, billed as unsinkable thanks to cutting-edge technology and design. It promised an unprecedented ocean-crossing experience for the wealthiest and the hopeful alike, boasting lavish interiors, fine dining, and unparalleled comfort. Yet, within days, the unsinkable ship had become one of the deadliest maritime disasters in history. On the night of April 14, 1912, as the Titanic steamed through the icy waters of the North Atlantic, it struck an iceberg. The collision caused massive damage to the hull, opening multiple compartments to the sea. Despite efforts to save the ship, it became clear the Titanic was doomed. Over the next few hours, the ship slowly sank into the dark depths, taking with it more than 1,500 lives.
The Titanic demanded a crew of nearly 900. Of those 900, only 23 were women.
For decades, the wreck remained hidden, lying silent about 12,500 feet beneath the ocean surface. It wasn't until 1985 that the wreck was finally discovered by a joint French-American expedition led by Robert Ballard.
Well, actually, the Titanic was a cover for a top-secret military operation I was doing.
The discovery reignited worldwide fascination, and since then, numerous explorations have sought to unravel the secrets of the Titanic, its final moments, the ship's deterioration, and the stories of those aboard. Fast forward to today, where advances in underwater technology have transformed the way we explore deep-sea wrecks like the Titanic. The latest expedition, sending a high-tech underwater drone inside the Titanic's remains, has given us a haunting new window into the past. This is where the story gets not just fascinating, but terrifying. Imagine a drone, no bigger than a small suitcase, slipping through narrow corridors where the air once echoed with voices and footsteps. It navigates rooms where chandeliers once hung, cabins where families slept, and hallways where the frantic footsteps of those trying to escape still seem to echo faintly. The footage captured is unlike anything we've seen, eerie, silent, and chilling. The drone reveals the Titanic's interior in a state of haunting decay. Rust and corrosion eat away at the metal framework, leaving skeletal structures behind. Furniture lies toppled, broken glass glints faintly in the drone's lights, and personal belongings, suitcases, shoes, even faded clothing, rest where they were abandoned more than a century ago. These artifacts, frozen in time and shadowed by darkness, evoke the presence of the lives lost in a deeply visceral way. This footage is terrifying, not because of monsters or supernatural threats, but because it confronts us with the raw reality of human tragedy. It's a silent underwater mausoleum where time has stopped, but memories endure. Watching the drone's journey inside the Titanic is like peering through a window into a nightmare frozen in the deep sea. The scale of loss and decay made stark and real. What makes this footage so groundbreaking isn't just its ability to show the Titanic's interior. It's what it reveals about the ongoing battle between preservation and decay. The Titanic, resting in near-freezing, pitch-black waters, has been slowly eaten away by rust and sea creatures. The drone's images show how fragile the wreck has become, how it's literally falling apart, piece by piece. Scientists and historians are racing against time to document every detail, every artifact, and every inch of the ship before more is lost forever. This footage allows them to update maps of the wreck, study how it's deteriorating, and gain insights into the ship's final moments. It also raises powerful ethical questions. How far should exploration go? At what point does curiosity risk disrespecting a gravesite? The drone's exploration pushes these boundaries by offering unprecedented access with minimal disturbance. But it also reminds us that beneath the water, the Titanic is not just a shipwreck. It is a sacred memorial to the lives lost. The footage's terrifying power lies in this duality. It is both a treasure trove of knowledge and a solemn reminder of human vulnerability. The Titanic's story is far from just history. The ship's tragic end has become a symbol of human hubris, of overconfidence in technology and class divisions that cost so many lives. The drone's journey inside the wreck reminds us that beneath all the legend and lore, there are very real human stories. Each artifact and room is a fragment of those lives. A child's forgotten toy, a leather-bound suitcase with travel papers, a decaying chair where someone once sat. The haunting images challenge us to remember that behind the history are people who dreamed, hoped, and suffered. At the same time, the drone's mission is a testament to human curiosity and the desire to understand our past. The technology that enables us to explore these dark depths also connects us across time. It's a delicate balance between honoring memory and pushing the boundaries of discovery. The footage from inside the Titanic is beyond terrifying because it makes history immediate and personal. It's not a distant story anymore. It's an intimate look into a place of death and loss, illuminated by the cold, ghostly light of a drone. It forces us to confront mortality, memory, and the cost of progress. The Titanic lies silent beneath the waves, but through technology, its story still speaks loudly. We watch, captivated and unsettled, drawn into a world where tragedy is frozen forever beneath the ocean's surface. This footage is a reminder that some stories never fade. They wait beneath the surface, ready to be uncovered, terrifying, heartbreaking, and unforgettable. Thanks for watching. Subscribe for more of our uploads.